The moon was a big sleepy pearl in the dark, dark sky. It peeked down through the tall, whispering trees, past the pointy tops of the sleeping tent, and into the middle of a quiet campsite. Everything was still. The happy sounds of the day had all tucked themselves into bed. The laughter was sleeping, the songs were dreaming, and the grown-ups and children were snuggled deep inside their cozy bags. In the center of the campsite was a circle of stones. And inside that circle, a big happy campfire had danced all evening. It had told stories with its flickering flames and sung songs with its gentle crackles. But now the big fire was sleepy too. It had yawned a big puff of smoke and settled down for the night, leaving behind only the dark, crumbly shapes of logs and the soft, warm gray of ash. But wait. Look closer. Down in the very heart of the sleepy ash, something was still awake. A tiny, tiny spark. No bigger than a ladybug's wing. Her name was Ember. Ember was all alone. The warmth of the big fire was gone, and a cool night breeze was beginning to tiptoe through the campsite. It tickled the leaves on the trees and made the tent fabric shiver. Ember felt a little shiver too. A tiny flicker of her light trembled. She was so very small and the night felt so very big. Her glow, which was once a bright and happy orange, was starting to fade, becoming smaller and softer. She didn't want to disappear into the gray ash. She wanted to be warm again. She wanted to be a bright, dancing, nurturing fire. She remembered the big fire, how it would eat special snacks to stay strong. It loved the dry, crinkly things the campers would bring. Ember knew, deep in her tiny, glowing heart, that she needed to find those snacks too. She needed to find the right colors to build herself back up. She needed to be resilient. That was a big word, but for Ember it just meant one thing. She had to keep her little light from going out. But how? She was just a tiny spark, nestled in a bed of soft ash. She couldn't roll or walk or jump. The world outside her stone circle seemed so far away. A little puff of sadness almost made her light flicker out completely. But then she remembered the feeling of being warm. The feeling of crackling with happiness. The feeling of nurturing and glowing for all to see. And that memory gave her a little bit of strength. She held on to her light, as hard as a tiny spark could. And then it happened. A gentle puff of wind, a little whisper in the dark, came dancing through the campsite. It wasn't a big pushy wind. It was a soft, helpful breeze. It swirled into the fire pit, lifted Ember up, up from her ashy bed, and carried the tiny spark over the stony wall. Whoosh! Ember floated for just a moment, a tiny dot of light sailing through the cool night air. The world looked so different from up here. The blades of grass were like a tall, dark forest. A fallen leaf was like a giant, bumpy mountain. She landed gently, just a few hops away from her home on the cool, dark earth. She was out. She was on an adventure. Her little light glowed just a tiny bit brighter with excitement. But the cold was still there, and she knew her journey was just beginning. Her first mission was to find something to help her grow. She looked around with her soft, warm light. The moonlight helped a little, making everything silver and gray. But Ember wasn't looking for silver or gray. She was looking for a special color. The color of sunshine sleeping in the fields. The color of a happy baby duckling. She was looking for the color yellow. Her tiny glow cast a small circle of light on the ground around her. She could see dark soil and a few smooth gray pebbles. But what was that just beyond her light? A patch of something that looked like golden hair sticking up from the ground. Would Ember be brave enough to travel a little farther? She waited, her light pulsing gently. 1 pulse. 2 pulses. And then another friendly puff of wind came to help. It was even softer this time, like a little secret being whispered just for her. Whoosh. The wind nudged her along the ground, rolling her gently over the soil, past the smooth gray pebbles, until she came to a stop right at the edge of the patch of tall, thin stalks. They were dry and wispy, and under the moon they looked almost silver. But when Ember cast her own little light upon them, they changed. They weren't silver at all. They were a beautiful, warm, sunny yellow. It was dry grass, perfect for a tiny, hungry fire. It was a cheerful, happy yellow. The yellow of dandelions in the daytime. The yellow of the fluffy center of a daisy. It looked crunchy and smelled like a warm sunny afternoon. Ember felt a little flicker of joy. She had found it. Gently, she nudged herself closer, until the very tip of her glow touched the end of a single yellow blade of grass. It was a soft sizzly sound. The little yellow blade of grass instantly curled up and offered its warmth to Ember. A tiny new flame, no bigger than an eyelash, flickered to life. It was a yellow flame. Ember took a little breath and the flame grew. She touched another blade of yellow grass. And another. Soon she wasn't just a tiny fading spark anymore. She was a small glowing pile of warmth, about the size of a big juicy strawberry. Her light was brighter now, a steady, happy yellow glow that pushed the darkness back a little farther. She could feel the warmth inside her, a nurturing, crackling feeling that made her feel strong. She had been resilient. She had not given up. And now she was bigger and brighter because of it. The cold night didn't feel quite so scary anymore. On rolled the little fire, warm and full of yellow light, ready for her next discovery. She felt much stronger now, but she knew she wasn't a big, dancing fire yet. She needed more colors. The yellow had made her bright, but she wanted to be warmer, to have a deeper glow. She remembered the big fire often had flickers the color of a sunset, the color of a juicy peach. She needed to find the color orange. The helpful wind seemed to know what she was thinking. A slightly bigger puff, full of purpose, swirled around her. It lifted her, no longer a tiny spark but a small, confident flame, and carried her across the campsite. She floated over a long, winding hose that looked like a sleeping green snake. She sailed past a big, blue cooler box that looked like a block of ice under the moonlight. She was flying. She landed with a gentle thump on something soft and crinkly. She looked down, casting her new yellow light. She was sitting in a pile of fallen leaves, right at the foot of a giant sleeping oak tree. The leaves were all different shapes and sizes, but as her light touched them, she saw it. They were the most beautiful color she had ever seen. They were orange. Not just one kind of orange, but so many. There was a soft peachy orange like the inside of a ripe apricot. There was a deep fiery orange, like the clouds when the sun says goodnight. There was a brownish orange, the color of cozy cinnamon. The whole pile was a treasure chest of orange. They looked like they would make the most wonderful crinkly crackling sound. Ember leaned into the pile. She touched the edge of a big star-shaped maple leaf. It was a brilliant glowing orange. Crackle, crackle, hiss. The sound was louder than the grass. The orange leaf curled its edges and seemed to jump into her flame, feeding her its warm sunset color. A new flicker of light, a beautiful vibrant orange, danced up from her center. It twirled and swirled with the yellow flames, making a beautiful pattern of warmth. Ember was so excited. She nuzzled deeper into the pile. Crackle, hiss. Pop. Another orange leaf joined her fire. And another. Each one added its own shade of orange to her growing glow. The orange flames felt warmer, more substantial than the yellow ones. They felt strong and steady. Now she was no longer the size of a strawberry. She was as big as a child's two hands cupped together. Her light was a mix of brilliant yellow and deep glowing orange. She could feel the heat pouring from her, a wonderful nurturing warmth that made the air around her feel safe and cozy. The darkness had to stand much farther back now. She could hear her own voice, a happy, steady crackling sound. It was the sound of a fire that knew it was growing strong. She had found the yellow. She had found the orange. Her resilience was paying off. The little spark who had felt so lost and alone was now a beautiful, confident little fire. But her journey wasn't over. There was one more color she needed. The most important color of all. The color of a brave heart. On rolled the little fire, glowing with yellow and orange bumpity-bump on her journey. She felt so wonderfully warm now. Her yellow flames were the music, her orange flames were the dance, and together they were a beautiful song of light. She was big enough now that she didn't need the wind to carry her, though it still danced around her happily. She could roll herself along, a little ball of living sunshine searching the dark campsite. She knew what she was looking for. It was the deepest, warmest color. The color that made the big fire sing its loudest songs. the color of a ripe apple, the color of a ladybug's shiny shell. She was searching for the color red. She rolled past the legs of a picnic table, which stood like 4 tall wooden giants. She rolled around a forgotten blue bucket, but she couldn't see any red. The world was mostly dark greens, deep browns, and silvery grays in the moonlight. She started to feel a tiny flicker of worry. What if she couldn't find it? Would her fire be incomplete? But then she remembered how far she had come. From a tiny shivering spark to this. She had been resilient, and she could be resilient again. She focused her light, pushing it farther out into the darkness, like a little lantern searching for treasure. And that's when she saw it. Over by a small leafy bush, there were tiny little dots hanging in clusters. In the moonlight, they looked almost black. But there was something about them, a special kind of shine. What could that bright spot be, shining through the leaves? Curiosity made her roll faster. She rumbled over the bumpy ground, her flames dancing with anticipation. As she got closer, she cast her warm orange and yellow light onto the bush. The little dots weren't black at all. They were red. A deep, beautiful jewel-like red. They were tiny wild berries, hanging like little Christmas ornaments from the branches. They were the perfect, brilliant red she had been searching for. The red of a fire truck, the red of a Valentine's heart. It was a happy, exciting, powerful red. She rolled right up to the edge of the bush. A few of the berries had fallen to the ground, nestled in the cool, damp grass. They looked so shiny and perfect. With great care, she reached out a single gentle orange flame and touched one of the little red berries. Pop! Sizzle! Crackle! It was the best sound yet. It was a loud, happy, energetic sound. The little red berry gave a happy little hop and then burst with a tiny cloud of sweet-smelling steam, feeding her its incredible energy. A new flame, a deep, strong ruby-red flame, shot up from her very center. It was the most powerful flame of all. It was the heart of the fire. Ember was overjoyed. She quickly found another red berry. Pop! And another. Sizzle, crackle. Each red berry she touched made her red flames burn brighter and stronger, and made her crackling song louder and more joyful. The red flames danced majestically among the orange and yellow ones, a perfect harmony of color and warmth. She was no longer a small fire. She was a proper campfire now. Not as big as the one from the evening, but she was whole. She had her bright yellow flames, her warm orange flames, and her strong red flames. She was a beautiful, glowing, crackling fire, full of life and warmth. Her light filled the little clearing, making the whole campsite feel safe and cheerful. She had done it. Her resilience, her refusal to let her little light go out, had led her on a wonderful journey. She had found all the colors and built herself back into the nurturing fire she had always wanted to be. She pulsed with a deep, happy, contented glow, proud of the warmth she had made all by herself. She sat there in her circle of stones, which she had carefully rolled back into a perfect rainbow of fire. The yellow flames whispered, the orange flames danced, and the red flames sang a deep, crackling song. The night no longer felt cold or scary at all. It felt like a soft, dark blanket, and she was the warm, glowing heart in the middle of it. Now she was a warm and happy fire. But was there anyone to share her warmth with? She crackled softly, watching the shadows of the trees dance in her light. And then she heard a tiny sound. A rustle in the leaves just beyond her glow. It was a very small sound, almost too quiet to hear. Rustle, rustle, squeak. Ember watched, her flames burning steadily. From the darkness, a tiny twitching nose appeared. Then 2 big dark eyes, and a set of long, delicate whiskers. It was a little field mouse. The mouse was shivering, its tiny gray body trembling in the cool night air. It looked cold and a little bit scared. The little mouse saw Ember. It saw her beautiful, glowing colors. It saw the bright, happy yellow. It saw the cozy, welcoming orange. And it saw the deep, strong, nurturing red. It could feel her wonderful warmth from across the clearing. Slowly, hesitantly, the little mouse took a step forward. Then another.
Emberes flame softened.
She made her crackling sound extra gentle. She wanted the little mouse to know it was safe. Her fire wasn't a scary, wild thing. It was a kind, nurturing warmth meant to be shared. The field mouse crept closer and closer, until it was right at the edge of her stone circle. It stopped and wiggled its nose, feeling the delightful heat on its whiskers. It let out a tiny happy squeak. It curled up into a little ball, as close as it could safely get, and let Ember's wonderful warmth soak into its fur. Its shivering stopped. Ember glowed with a new kind of happiness. This was what it was all for. Her resilience hadn't just saved her. It had created a place of comfort for someone else. She was a true, nurturing fire now, sharing her light and her warmth with a new friend. All through the rest of the night, Ember burned steadily and brightly, a beautiful beacon of yellow, orange, and red. She kept the little mouse warm and safe, and the two of them shared the quiet magic of the starlit hours. The little Ember, who was once so small and afraid, was now the warm, glowing heart of the campsite. As the first soft light of morning began to peek over the horizon, painting the sky in pale shades of pink and purple, Ember and her little mouse friend were still there, cozy and content. The morning was coming, and with it, a whole new world of light and wonder. What new friends might they make in the sunshine? The adventure, she knew, was only just beginning. A moral: true warmth comes from resilience. By not giving up when you feel small or cold, you can grow strong enough to not only warm yourself but also nurture and care for others.